Hello and welcome to the Business Whisperer podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Adila Rafiz, the Global Business Whisperer. If you are wondering how to create a life in business that is intuitive, authentic, and successful, that is exactly what we are here to help you do each and every week, where we bring you episodes, interviews, tools, tips, everything that you are looking for to help you realize that the most important ingredient in your business is you, and listening to the whispers of your intuition, your gut instinct. It has helped me create a business beyond my wildest dreams, and I'm here to now help you do the same. So if you are ready to download some of this business whispering magic into your life and business, stay tuned because you're in the right place. Hello and welcome back to the Business Whisperer podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Adila Rafiz, and today we are continuing the series on building your own empire for holistic practitioners, coaches, facilitators, and healers from all around the world. No matter who you are and what your background is, if you haven't considered scaling your business, growing your business, and starting to think about really embodying CEO mindset rather than sole trader, solo entrepreneur, or business owner mindset, this is what this particular series of podcasts is about this season. So I wanted to continue on from the last episode where I started to talk about what would it be like and what would the benefit be, not just to you, but actually to the world, if you were able to scale what you did, if you were able to grow what you did, and if you were able to make that shift for yourself in believing that actually you were not going to have to struggle or focus on just keeping your business viable and keeping your income consistent, but could actually start to look at how you could really build the foundations for an empire, start to really have that longevity and take that long view for what you are creating, and start to make decisions based on that vision rather than being, much more microscopically focused rather than macroscopically. So today I wanted to speak about that journey a little bit. The journey for most practitioners. I'm going to talk about my journey and the mindset shifts, the belief systems that I had to really work on, first of all, to make that shift for myself and my business, and the work that I think is going to start to help you to make that shift as well. For those of you who resonate with this, for those of you that come from or either currently are practicing as a practitioner, a healer, someone who has maybe trained in a traditional profession such as I did. I was a chiropractor. I graduated and practiced as a chiropractor for about 10 years. And I had always, as soon as I graduated, I was practicing as a chiropractor. And alongside that, I also did really in-depth trainings and gained qualifications alongside in other mind-body energy techniques, and started working in my off time as a facilitator and working with clients in what we would call more of the holistic space, the energetic space, the healing space, even coaching, whilst my day job and my main job was still being a chiropractor. And I'll tell you about some of the major mindset shifts I had to make that I really believe held me back, because when you graduate or when you belong to a highly regulated profession like I did, like many of you will understand and resonate with, whether you're a practitioner, naturopath, acupuncturist, chiropractor, medical doctor, nurse practitioner, or those of you who are currently thinking about how to make that shift from working for someone else to start to working for yourself. And this is something else that I work with a lot of clients with. When you have been able to do what you do alongside a current full-time job or a job where you are paid and that income is consistent, that paycheck is consistent, some of the mindset and belief shifts that we need to make in order to successfully transition to doing the work that we often would really like to do full-time, but don't actually believe that it's possible or viable for us to do so. So, working through this list, see how many you resonate with or realize you still have. One of the big ones, obviously, was money. Okay, so as a practitioner, there was this whole belief system around how much we could charge because we're dealing with industry standards. You have often, a scale or a range of what is the industry standard that you can charge. And because you've done so much work to fit into your industry and to belong in your industry normally, industries have a collective psyche, or they share this, it's almost like you want to belong. And I see this all the time. I see it with coaches. I see it with practitioners. I see it with healers. I see people doing more to feel like they fit in and belong to the group that they align with or identify as, and are doing more to try to prove that they are actually one of them and that they belong and that they're saying the right things and practicing the right way, that they actually spend more time and energy trying to prove themselves to their own profession and to their own peers rather than to their ideal clients. And so when it comes to pricing, when you work so hard to fit in to your profession and to your industry, and especially when you're in your first 5, 10, 15, I would say even 20 years of practice, because we have such greats that we look up to in our profession. And when you are trained by college professors and people who've been in the industry for 15, 20, 30 years, to be the experts in that industry, you really think of yourself as that rookie, as that novice, especially when you first graduate, especially in that first 5 years. So there is this huge mindset block around your ability to charge and to charge a lot for what you do. And so if your industry standard, like it was for mine, was around $50 a visit for a chiropractic visit, and there's nothing wrong with it, but if you want to start looking at how you can scale your income and how you can start looking at charging more or offering other services or having a way to grow your income, there's this huge block around believing that it's actually possible for you and knowing how you could actually do that when everyone else your friends, your colleagues, all of your other chiropractic peers or practitioner peers or energy healing peers are charging within a particular price range. What it does is it brings into question why it is that you believe that you are worth or you are worthy of or more deserving than them, and therefore why should you and why could you charge more than them? This is often a subconscious condition that goes on. The other thing that's coming up here is the fear of judgment. Remember I said that we spend so much time and energy trying to prove to our peers or to our profession that we're doing the right things, we're doing everything like they are, that we are fitting in, we're not breaking the rules. I'll talk about why that is in a minute. That the fear of being judged as doing something wrong, doing something illicit, doing something unworthy, absolutely holds us back. And this was something that I had to work through hugely as I shifted out of being a chiropractor and into being not just the facilitator and practitioner in my business, but actually creating my own modality, i.e. creating my own rules, creating my own systems and framework that was not heavily reliant or dependent on my past or my previous programming, which was actually a huge it had held me back for many years in many ways. The need to fit in and the fear of judgment is often holding you back from doing what is right for you, what resonates with you, and actually even finding what it is that works for you. Because if you graduated, if you practiced in a town, in a city, if you connected, if all of your friends, like many of us when you graduate and you're part of a profession, many of your friends are also part of that profession. Some of our best friends, some of our longest friends are those friends that we attended our trainings or our courses or, recurring seminars with. So it's then very hard to break away from what everyone around you is doing and the people that you like and trust and want their respect and want their acceptance, for you to break away and start doing something different. Not only is that daunting and scary, but often it doesn't even occur to you to think about doing something that nobody else is doing. How would you even think about, okay, how could I do something different to what all of my colleagues and peers and friends in the industry are doing? So that's number one. Number two, I just spoke about the fear of getting into trouble or doing something wrong. And this is where coming from a practitioner background or a professional background is different to, the unregulated industries. If you have gone straight into being a coach, an energy healer, someone who has been able to do some courses, find the mentorship that you need, and then go on to start a business. These are unregulated industries. And there's great things about that, and there's not so great things about that, and we'll talk about that later. But the key difference between that and coming from a professional background where we are certified through a board, okay, there is a board, a registration agency or a governing body that we are registered through. We have a board that we are answerable to. We pay a yearly registration to belong to this profession. And there are rules and expectations that go along with it. And if you have someone who complains against you, if your governing body receives a complaint against you as either a practitioner or a business owner, you will be investigated. There will be a review, and you could be banned or barred or suspended from being able to do your life's work. So this is a very real threat. It's a very real fear. And of course, there's good reason behind it. Of course, when you are going to see your doctor, you're going to see your chiropractor, you're going to see someone that you are trusting with your body or your health or your mental well-being, you want them to be answerable to looking after you in the very best way, to adhering to best practice, to not doing anything that can harm you or that can even be considered as taking advantage of you or making you feel unsafe. And that's why these rules exist. That's why these boards exist. That's why we have all of this, yearly requirements for us to keep our registration current each year as a practitioner. Subconsciously, what that does for practitioners, what I found that it did for me as well for others who come from this background, is if you are starting to make the switch or you are wanting to make the switch into the coaching, healing, online space, which is completely unregulated, and you see people doing things that you were never allowed to do. And if you're wondering what I mean by that, one of the things that we cannot actually do as a registered health practitioner is use testimonials. And I know that sounds wild, but again, what we're not allowed to do is provide false hope or say to you that your results could be the same as other people's, because results are not always typical, right? And so something that is so widely used in the online space and in the coaching industry and in the unregulated industries are testimonials, feedback, video testimonials, written testimonials, advertising. We actually were not allowed to do that. That's something that was seen as making a claim or being able to promise results, and that's something that as registered practitioners you're not allowed to do. And anything that actually even came close to that could put you under review. We had to be very careful with wording on our websites, wording on Facebook ads or social media ads, social media posts. You have to be extremely careful so that it's not construed as you misleading the public about the results you can deliver. Now, this probably sounds very, very different to what you see happening in the online space and in all the other industries, because you can say whatever you want. You see testimonials everywhere, and you see people talking about what they do and the results that they get and how good they are at what they do. And this is the key. This is what I found. That for years, I struggled to talk about what I did and how it was different and the results that I achieved and, really the life-changing work that was happening, because I came from a profession where it was one of the most taboo things that you could do. I was literally not allowed to do it. And so when you have people that haven't come from that professional background, obviously it makes sense to take as much advantage as you can of glowing customer or client reviews, feedback, and testimonials. It also gives you that confidence and ability to talk easily and share about what it is that you do, the results that you get, how clients are so happy with what you offer, and it makes it easier for you to be in the limelight and to share what you do openly and to maybe be a bit more, I'm going to use the word, being able to be a bit more forthright or straightforward when you talk about what it is that you do, what makes you so special in a good way, and why people should choose to work with you rather than someone else offering the same service. This is actually the opposite of what practitioners are trained to do. We're trained to, as I mentioned in point 1, we're trained to belong to a profession. And you're trying to make yourself the same. And you're trying to always talk about what you can achieve in general terms without making what you do sound like that you're doing it better than the other colleagues in your profession, or that you're able to promise results, or you're able to promise a definitive outcome in a definitive amount of time. Very, very different, right? So you can imagine, or maybe you can't, because this is one of the things that took me the longest amount of time to transition out of. This took years of mindset work around being allowed to express my truth, being allowed to talk about who I am and what I do, why I'm different, why my modality, why body whispering, business whispering is different, the results that we get, the lives that it was changing, because it literally went against everything that I had been taught and trained was permissible. And therefore, for the first 5 years of me being in this industry, my classes and my sessions grew by word of mouth and referrals, as opposed to ads or marketing or a website that very clearly explained what I did with testimonials on it and customer reviews on it. It was almost, in fact, not almost, it literally was the best kept secret. And it was like people would come and be like, I don't know what it is that you do exactly, but I have been told that I have to come see you because what you did changed so-and-so's life or so-and-so's health. And I cannot tell you the number of people that have said that to me. I cannot tell you. In fact, I'd probably be very rich if I charged $1 for each time someone said that to me. The number of clients that I have had come see me and they've said, look, I don't even know what it is that you do exactly, but so-and-so said that I had to come see you because what you did is amazing. And to not be able to share that, or to not even think of like putting that out into the world because it was so far away from the background that I'd come from. So for other practitioners, you may see this, or you may have heard of what we call the visibility block. And the visibility block is different to this particular thing that I'm talking about here, but this conditioning contributes to the block in visibility, to the willingness to be seen. Because if you come from a similar background, being visible to the board, being visible by the public, and being seen as doing something different would often result in you getting in trouble, or you sticking your neck too far above the status quo, which puts you in the firing line. And so this contributes to what is called the visibility block, or not really wanting to be seen, or wanting to stand out too much, or draw too much attention to yourself, because you don't actually know what the consequences of that could be. And ultimately, it could mean the death of your business, because you've been told that what you're doing is wrong, or not permissible, or you're not allowed to do it, and you get a slap on the wrist, or you get a fine, or actually you get deregistered by a board. So this is a huge shift that practitioners, or those from professional backgrounds, need to make, when suddenly you're allowed to, literally, you can say whatever you want on the internet. You can make whatever claim you would like to. And this is one of the biggest differences that I see between healers, practitioners, those of us that come from either professional backgrounds, or those of us that resonate with the word healers and use the term healer to describe ourselves. It's a very different mindset and a very different industry to the coaching industry. And when you see and when you hear, sometimes you're hearing about the backlash against the coaching industry, or you're seeing and hearing about people charging like huge amounts of money and sometimes not being able to deliver results, or actually people saying that they feel taken advantage of, or coaches not fulfilling or being able to provide the results that they promise in exchange for these huge amounts of money, these huge, often six-figure investments that people are making, even multiple six-figure investments. That's actually mind-blowing to us. Because actually the industry that we resonate with and we come from and identify with is very different to that. As a practitioner myself, and as an intuitive born healer myself, that's what the two titles that I use the most and resonate with. Yes, now I'm also a coach, I'm also a business owner, I'm also a CEO, I'm the founder. But first and foremost, the skills that I have and the work that I do and the titles that I resonate with are healer and practitioner. That's my background, and that's what my core training is in. Those of us that belong to these industries, like many or most of the graduates from the Life Whispering Institute, body whispering practitioners tend to be practitioners who really have an innate ability to heal or be healing to others, or they have come from other professional backgrounds like myself, and they're looking for that thing that's giving them the missing piece that we've always been aware of that exists, but we hadn't been able to find through our professional work. We don't have that issue. I have not received any backlash or had my practitioners or coaches, or myself as a practitioner or coach, struggle with or had backlash against charging huge amounts of money, because we actually have the opposite, which is that money wound and that inability to actually charge large amounts of money without feeling like we have the required experience, qualifications, time and expertise that's been invested, and actually the struggle with most practitioners and born or innate healers that I know is actually them charging what they're worth or more than what they think they are worth. That is actually the struggle on this side of the industry. In the coaching industry, there's big money. And this is where I think the backlash is coming from, is people are charging huge amounts of money and not always providing very safe and effective containers. And I have absolutely nothing against people charging huge amounts of money. That's actually my wish for the world, is all of us to be able to do the work that we love to do, that we are here to do, that we are most innately gifted and talented in, the work that you would do because it lights you up and you would do it for free anyway, for you to be richly rewarded to do that work in the world. That, I think, would just be the ultimate ideal. And I have absolutely no judgment or point of view of those who are charging, whether it's $10, $10 million, or even $10 billion for being able to provide an amazing service that delivers what it says it will deliver. Absolutely, I find that very inspiring. And working with other coaches and mentors myself, that was my target too, was to get over all of my mindset funk, my previous conditioning, all of my hang-ups as a healer and belonging to an industry where we had very limited mindset around money and how much we could charge and what we were allowed to say and what we were allowed to do and how it was possible or not very possible for us to scale our income. Okay, so I want to make that clear that the more money I hear and see people making in a safe and effective and authentic way with integrity, I find that hugely inspiring. And I've worked with many coaches and continue to do so to grow my income and to continue to grow my business so that I can do the same. Because for me and for people like us, what we're looking to do and what we're trying to achieve is more impact. And that is the greatest thing possible. Healers, practitioners, people like myself that come from quite this limited mindset and belief system have had to do a lot of work to actually believe that, 6 figures, multiple 6 figures, 7 figures is even possible as a solo practitioner. It's not something that we grew up. I'm using the term grew up, but I mean as we trained and went from being baby practitioners to more experienced practitioners, that still is not an industry norm. So that's not normally where we are coming from. Those of you who are healers normally have a lot of hang-ups around money. You have the healer's wound. You want to help save the world. You want to make the world a better place. You are so empathic and empathetic that when people come to you with a sob story, you want to help them for free, even to the detriment of yourself. They normally struggle with money and financial boundaries. And they come from quite a different perspective and place to what I see happening in the coaching industry. So the reason I'm bringing this up here is because as we start to see this shift occurring, because the natural progression is very similar to, I think, the journey I've been on, because I've gone on that journey. I'm still in that journey, and I'm helping and coaching many other practitioners go on this journey. I see many other people go on this journey, and I think it's a very natural progression. Is you start as that sole practitioner or sole coach, solo facilitator, and then you start to transition into, first of all, charging money for what you do, right? That's the first hurdle, okay? Most of you go out, you learn your modality or your energy healing technique, and then the first mindset hurdle to get over is, how can I charge money for this? And then how much can I charge? And for some people, it's like, can I charge $50? Can I charge $100? Can I charge $200? Can I charge $2,000? It doesn't matter where that price point lies. That first hurdle is being able to believe that you can charge, and you can charge enough money to actually have a good quality of life and living for yourself. Then as you start to become experienced, as your results increase, as you start to really see the impact that you make with your clients, and you start to really get confident in your ability to create change, to create results, and that is being fed back to you by your clients as well, you then start to see that transition into your business starting to grow, and you need to put on your business owner hat. And you start to transition into not just practitioner, but also business owner. And then as you become good at what you do, maybe you start having others reach out to you to ask for help or mentorship to do what you are doing. And this is when we start to become and put on that third hat, which is coaching. And this is the transition many of us have gone on. I have gone on, is I didn't set out or start out to be a business coach. Like I said, it's not the term that I even use. But after, more than 12 years being in the industry, successfully making that transition from sole practitioner and business owner to creating my modality, working all over the world, growing my business to a global presence, more and more people wanted to learn how to do that for themselves as well as learning the modality. And that's where the business programs and the business coaching comes in, because you need to then understand how a business works, how to run a business, how to grow your business, how to scale. That's a completely different skill set to how to heal your clients, how to facilitate change, how to create people to be empowered in themselves or to undo the conditioning of their past. They're two completely different skill sets. And what I see time and again, and this is one of the things I'm most passionate about, you might be able to tell by how excited I'm getting, but one of my most favorite things to do in the world is take those really skilled practitioners and healers, those of you who have that natural ability and you change lives by the way you touch people, work with people, interact with people, facilitate people, and actually show you how to make good money from doing it, how to actually make it into a viable business that is rewarding for you financially as well as spiritually or in your soul, because you provide so much value to the world. And it's not fair that these same people are struggling to make ends meet financially, even though the work they do provides so much value. So this is one of my favorite places. This is one of my favorite things that I get to do. And it's why we've brought in some aspects of business training into all of our classes and courses. When you do body whispering, as a 2-day class practitioner, you still get taught some business basics. At each level of advancing in the classes, we talk more and give you more skills and information about how to grow your practitioner business. With business whispering classes and sessions, we really bring in the business intuitive information and skills to put together with how to grow your business in the most aligned way. And then the business programs are designed to actually really give you that selected information that you may never have come across, because again, you could have done 50 classes, courses, trainings, and qualifications to become an expert in your industry, and yet not one of those classes, courses, or trainings will cover the business information that you are missing. And so the business coaching and the programs that I've now been offering for quite a few years and continue to grow and develop are focused at providing you that information that is missing. It was missing for me. I had to go out and invest thousands, literally hundreds of thousands of dollars and thousands of hours and many, many years into finding the information about how to grow and scale my business. And there was lots of trial and error, because back when I started, there wasn't intuitive, aligned spiritual business coaches like there are now, crushing it online, working with clients all over the world, talking openly about making multiple 6 and 7 figures in our industry. No, there wasn't. The business coaches and the coaching programs that were on offer a decade ago were very different. They were not intuitive. They were not about creating a spiritual or aligned business. They were about business. There was more hustle. There was more marketing. There was more of all of that stuff that really doesn't fit for most of us as intuitives, because it goes against our natural ways of functioning. And so there was lots of trial and error. There was lots of investing money at the start that didn't really see a return, because I hated doing things that way, and therefore it wasn't sustainable. And then over the last few years, really, as we've seen this wonderful growth in the industry, and we've seen more of these practitioner coaches, these holistic, intuitive coaches come to light, female coaches come out and be very successful. It's become more mainstream, okay? And this is where I love to bring together both sides, both elements of, okay, this is what you don't know that you don't know. That's what it was for me. That's what I realized, is the things that I didn't know, I just didn't know. And I would never have learned them if I didn't go out and invest that money into learning about what systems were required in my business, what software existed, what things were required for my website, what things were best practice to have ease and availability for clients from all over the world to be able to book in and start working with you, how to start scaling and growing in your mindset as well as in the back end of your business. Most of us have never been taught about how to run streamlined and successful back ends. All we see is the front end, and therefore all we understand, and we understand it really well, is the front end, is the deliverables, how to interact and work with clients, create great results. That stuff is amazing. Most of my clients, my practitioners, the body whispering facilitators, I would happily go and see any of them as a practitioner, as a facilitator, as a healer. I know they are gifted, intuitive, and amazing at what they do. But where there is a lack of conversion is how they are able to take those skills and put it into a successful business model that leaves them without consistent income. It leaves them struggling to understand how their business is going to grow and be able to thrive in changing economies and year after year. And many of them feel like they're either stuck or they plateau at a certain level of income or a certain level of business growth because they don't know what they don't know. And often there's hacks and there's ways to do things that you didn't even know existed because you didn't know who to ask or where to go for that information. And so this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm bringing into that conversation for practitioners, healers, and facilitators that started out in a very similar industry or from a very similar background to myself. Okay, so I know this episode is getting a bit long, so I'm going to give you my final point and then we might do a follow-up episode for this particular topic. But the last one is scaling time. So as a practitioner, one of the mindset blocks we've just talked about is how to scale income and scale money. But the other aspect we never got taught how to scale was time, meaning having trained traditionally as a practitioner, a facilitator, or a coach, if you were taught how to work with clients one-on-one, and especially if that was one-on-one in person, for those of us who come from, a hands-on profession, chiropractic, acupuncture, massage, Reiki, anything, nurse practitioners, doctors, you are limited to how many clients you can see in a day. And there is no scope for how you could fit more clients into your schedule, because most unbelievable scenario is you work 24 hours a day and no matter how many clients you have, you're going to eventually run out of time and not be able to add more clients to a 24-hour period, whether your sessions were 1 hour or 30 minutes or 15 minutes or even 5-minute slots. There's only so many 5-minute slots in an hour, and there's only 24 hours each day. And we know that none of us can actually work 24 hours a day, realistically. So whether your workday was an 8-hour workday or a 6-hour workday or a 12-hour workday, you are limited to that many hours and therefore that many sessions in a day. And there's no scope as to how you could scale it, aside from taking on other practitioners. So then you would become a business owner, you'd hire other practitioners and they would work in your clinic, but you have to pay them or there's profit share. So scaling time was another huge mindset shift we had to make, because yes, now it seems obvious. Ding, ding, ding. What's the answer? Well, you run group programs, you run group trainings, you run group classes, you do things with more than one person using the same amount of time. But when you come from that traditional background, first of all, you can't do that because patient confidentiality is a huge thing. And secondly, you don't understand or believe that actually it could be effective for you to deliver like I didn't believe. Sorry, I'm not going to speak for anyone else, but this is a mindset block I had, and I'm sure others have it, is I didn't believe that the work I did one-on-one could be replicated and continue to be as powerful and transformational if I was doing it one-to-many. Because how was each person going to leave that session or leave the room feeling like they had received my undivided attention and healing and received whatever it is that they needed to receive, and not feel like my time and energy had been fractured or kind of, had to be spread out amongst the group. And so it was a huge mindset shift to believe that taking my one-on-one sessions and then taking it to a class or a group modality where I could teach people or I could work on people one-to-many was going to be just as effective. So scaling time was just as much of a mindset block as scaling money or scaling income. And there was a long period of needing to see the results, to grow in confidence, to believing that not only were group sessions and classes effective and powerful, but actually people were getting the same, if not sometimes better results than one-on-one work, depending on what each person required, because there is power in a collective experience, as we know. There is co-facilitation and group healing that occurs when you have multiple people in the room who are working on or changing similar things or hold the same intention for healing and change. We know that that is extremely powerful. But because I had never experienced that before and I had never been allowed and did not believe that that could ever be allowed to do in the way that I had been trained, that took a period of time to start to offer that service and then to have clients go for that option and then to see and believe the results. And again, we're in a different climate now. The industry has changed hugely. COVID has changed things hugely, because the other shift that I had to make alongside that was believing that online work and online sessions could be just as powerful as in-person sessions. And one of the things, even though I had made that shift pre-COVID, one of the things that COVID necessitated was all sessions and all classes and all experiences, whether they were one-on-one or in person, be taken online. And to see the change and the shifts and the transformation that occurred consistently, so you start to really understand and believe how this is not a fluke, it's not a one-off, it's a repeatable, it's a replicable process and procedure where you deliver results each and every time. And people are really understanding and believing that what you do is working for them in an online setting, in a group setting, or a one-on-one setting, and they are willing and able to pay you and pay you well for it. That is the wonderful summary of the mindset shifts, or some of the mindset shifts I had to make as a practitioner, healer coming from those backgrounds, and starting to really look at how to scale and how to be and believe that my business that started out as me being a sole trader and then being a company, having a clinic, and then taking it online, and then founding the institute, and then offering multiple programs and modalities. That was the process of starting to shift into legacy, starting to shift into long-term business viability and business success. And there's many things along the way that I will talk to you about and coach you through and explain in the Build Your Own Empire program that is starting in 2023. So all of the information for the program is below. I'm not going to do a big long pitch about the program. If this information has resonated with you, if you resonate with some of those mindset blocks, if you're currently experiencing them, or you're starting to understand how you may not have worked through your blocks completely, or a lot of what I said is still resonating for you or with you, the Build Your Own Empire program is perfect for practitioners, healers, intuitives, coaches. It is beyond anything that I have seen offered at this price point for the industry. And like I said, I have many years of experience of being the client and searching for these programs and searching for the mentorship and the coaches and the community that gave me the permission, gave me the encouragement, the inspiration, the learnings, the teachings to really believe that success for me was going to be inevitable, and it was possible for my vision to come to life. And for me to do this work that innately came through me, to be able to truly turn it into a full-time job and into not only my main income, but a great income, and an income that continues to grow and have growth year after year after year in really authentic and scalable ways with a lot of integrity. Okay, so if this is something you're interested in, if you are a healer, coach, practitioner yourself, do check out the Build Your Own Empire program. We have a foundation day launching on the 25th of January. That is the first session where we will, do all of the introductions and do your very first deep dive into this year-long mentorship and coaching program. If you have questions, do reach out. And I hope you've enjoyed this episode of the Business Whisperer podcast. Take care, everyone. And that wraps up another episode of the Business Whisperer podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. Your support means the world to me. Now, as always, if you found value in today's episode, do me a favor and share it with someone who you know would love this information, or leave us a review so you can help other people find this podcast too. Wishing you so much success ahead, and as always, remember, keep following the whispers.